The appalling story today of Mr. Parsons dragging his grandfather across a car park in Wales because there were no ambulances, carrying his grandfather on his shoulders across a car park because there were no ambulances, meeting a nurse who gave his grandfather CPR and saved his life. This is one of the most heartrending and shocking stories that I think I've come across for a while. Now, it throws into light the whole issue of the survival of our NHS. And the NHS is failing dismally. It's not just that it's not attracting and retaining its staff. It's also that it's got into a habit of producing a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday service. That is not the health service we were promised in the 1940s. And certainly throughout my childhood and until relatively recently, doctors were on call at weekends and during holidays like Christmas. It simply doesn't work to be sending people to A&E when they are ill. How do they get there if they can't drive, if they don't have a car? How do people get to A&E at Christmas when taxis are very reluctant to even come out? The period between Christmas and New Year, I was ill, and I tried everything I could, every possible way that I could to get treatment. None was forthcoming. None was possible. And why? Because of this 9 to 5, Monday to Friday approach. It's wrong, utterly, utterly wrong. And more than that, the various services, the various private services which are available simply work on the same terms. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And if one happens to be working during those hours, it just doesn't compute. So I'm struggling for the next few days until I go back on stage. And I think we have some time off now, mostly because the theatres are completely are completely shattered by the rail strike. And once again, we come to the conclusion that the Minister for the Arts is not doing her job. But then her predecessor didn't, and the person before that didn't. We have so many ministries in the government that are not doing their job. And when it comes to the health ministry, the NHS was set up by the government to provide service from the cradle to the grave. It's the government's responsibility. Now it can say that it might be the responsibility, it's delegated that responsibility to management in the NHS. If that's the case, then those managers should be resigning. I'd love to see them resign because I think they're paid too much for what little they do. But they're not resigning. So until we can see some resignations that demonstrate responsibility for the failure that is at the heart of our NHS at the moment, then we need to make a noise. It's not just the strikers who need to make a noise. We need to make a noise because this system is wrong. This system is not working for us. The health service should be there when we need it. Not there on its terms, at its convenience, but at ours. This is what we pay our tax for. And if that isn't working, then we need to find a better system. I don't believe the present government is trying to run down the NHS and then to replace it with a private system. I don't believe it has a private system in mind. I don't believe it's deliberately trying to sabotage the NHS. I do believe it's not taking responsibility for the NHS. Now that may amount to the same sort of thing, but it has a different source. The source is lazy thinking and a blinkered sense of responsibility. And I think this is about a moral vacuum, not about a a malicious desire to destroy the NHS. We need to get our moral focus back. And I think that goes for whichever side of Parliament you happen to be on. That moral focus and that sense of duty needs to be at the centre of public life. If it isn't, resign.